Hey, so Curtis May here, and so we're going to talk about the five fundamentals of personal finance. So this is I want to give you kind of a prosperity economics slant on what we do, and so this is a program that we're rolling out to kind of incorporate a principles based process. So we call it principles versus speculation. And so at the end, I'm going to give you a link where you can get a white paper that'll go into this in more detail. And if you'd like to see if you're a good fit for this process, basically it's a whole financial accountability around this process. But what happens is what birthed this is that I find a lot of people want to skip steps, right? And so there is a syntax, there is it's like baking a cake. There's an order in which you need to do stuff. And I speak a lot at business events and real estate investment groups, and everybody's like wanting to take a quantum leap to go from 0 to 60. I was just talking to a client this morning, like, oh, we want to start. They heard the show that we did with Carrie on ATM investing. And so the guy was like, my wife was like, well, when are we going to start the ATM investing? And I was like, okay, you're skipping the, I'm going to show you in this video, step 5. You have any money saved? Have you bought the course yet? You talked to Carrie, and have you enrolled in the course? I mean, how are you going to, you're not even ready to buy one because you don't know what the hell you're doing. So there's an order. Everybody wants to jump, because what happens is I'll go to these uh RIAs, or you go to these rich dad, these seminars, how to flip your house. And one time I was talking to this guy that used to do one of my clients, and a really successful guy. And he says, he would do these probably 10, 15 years ago. And he said most of the people in the audience had no business being there because their personal finances were a mess, and they were there because they needed to do this investment to get them out of a hole, to make a quantum leap. And what I find is everybody is jumping to that, but they don't have the fundamentals. So it's just like football. You got to learn how to block and tackle. You got to master the basics, the mundane, the boring, but now you're in position to build the foundation to build wealth. Okay. Because wealth is going to come from what you do. It's not lying in any product that some, financial professional sells you. Um, I don't care what they told you. Okay. I'm telling you that's impossible. And so what the financial institutions want and what you want are a complete 180. So their rules won't help you. All right. And so let's talk about that. So what are the principles of personal finance? So the first principle is that you have got to save money. You got to earn money. Probably should put that before that one, because you can't steer a parked car, but you got to save money. You got to save it 15 to 20%, we say, or more. And because our savings determine the amount of opportunity we'll have in the future, and it keeps the power of interest on our side. So you've got to learn to be a receiver of interest and not a payer. That's what our banking strategy is all about. That's part of this. So this is kind of the macro version of that. And then the private reserve or the infinite banking is part of this. But this is what starts it, these fundamentals. And so to first principle is to properly building, protecting, utilizing, and transferring wealth is to save at least 15% of your gross income. And so what we do is we have our personal financial snapshot. So this is what I do. So if you work with me, what we're going to do is we're going to put this in a model, and we're going to look at that. So principle 1, we're going to illustrate this, and we're going to track this every year, every 6 months, every 90 days. To what are you making? Where is it going? Can we find the money to help you save it? But understanding, you've got to save money. If you can't do that, then that's a problem. You have to fix that problem. If you're working and you can't do that, then we've got to figure out why you can't do that. And if you got to be able to do that before you invest. Here's the principle 2. And you got to have maximum protection. So I call this playing defense. We need to strategically protect ourselves and our assets from all the things that could possibly derail the plan. And so you got to protect at the level you would want in the event what you're insuring against will actually happen. So you can't buy fire insurance when your house is on fire, okay? Or car insurance after you've had an accident, or life insurance after you've been diagnosed with some, illness. Sometimes if you've got a chronic condition you can't get, even though you're not going to die, okay? So you got to get it when you can get it, and you need to have just a principle of maximum protection. So you see, most people see maximum protection as a cost that keeps them from doing what they have to do, but you have to look at it. That's a protective expense, and you have to play defense. Okay. And so a lot of people, this is where I fall as I'm analyzing people's situation. They're falling severely short. I mean, I'm talking about, professional investors, successful business owners, but when I take them through this exercise, it's overlooked because, a lot of times they don't work with somebody that will coordinate all of this stuff. You've got, different advisor for taxes and advisor for this, but nobody coordinates it all. And so at Practical Wealth, that's what we do. We take a holistic view of what we're talking about. So what happens is this is either overlooked, misunderstood, taken for granted, or minimized the importance of. I had a client who had a fee only advisor, and I'm like, look, you need a human life value. You need to have, take your income multiplied by 25. So what did I tell him? He needed about 1.5 million. And it was not going to cost him. It was going to cost him, I don't know, at his age, under $80 a month. It was nothing. And my guy said, he just, how much for 500,000? But where did that number come from? Because they'll teach buy term investor difference, and they first of all, they don't even implement. So don't get me started with that whole fee versus non-fee. That's it's really a non-issue. It's a distinction, a differentiation without distinction. Okay, you're not any more virtuous because you don't charge a fee. A fee, commission, same thing. All right, and so anyway, so you want to have maximum protection. I could go off on another tangent, but we stay on focus. And so what happens is, what we do is we'll analyze that, and this is a live example where we're going to barcode where you are. And as we work, if I'm working with somebody, as we work together, I want all of those bars in the green. Okay. So we're going to look at your auto, your home, your liability. You have to look at all that stuff because you could have gaps where you're underinsured. Do you need liability? Do you have entities? That's ownership. Do you have a lot of people don't have their estate planning. And, I think Prince died without a will, without a meaningful estate plan. And, with Paisley Park and all the assets that you have. So, folks, we got to get ourselves together. Does that make sense? And so principle 3 is, where's my principle 3? There we go. Is full replacement of assets upon death. See, folks, you're going to live too long, you're going to die. You only have 1 of 3 problems in this world. You're going to live too long, which means you got to save so you have money and build assets. You're going to die too soon before you complete your plan. That's what life insurance is for. Or you're going to get sick or hurt and live. That is what, disability and medical insurance and, critical, all that stuff. That's all playing defense. And so when we talk about replacing it upon death, you've got to replace that. There's a certain amount of money that when you're not here, that is that income is gone. So you have to replace that. Okay. I don't care if you've got a real estate portfolio. That's illiquid and you need cash. Okay. And so we say there's only one product that can do that. I have a great affinity for whole life. Really, it's a mixture of term and whole life. Nothing wrong with term insurance. Term is great. Okay. As long as it's convertible to whole life. Right. But let's think about benefits: guaranteed death benefit, tax-free growth of equity, no penalties for using the money while you're still living, protection from creditors on the money that's in the policy, not subject to stock market fluctuations, self-completes with waiver of premium of your payments if you get ill. That sort of plan will protect everything, and then that product is whole life. So insurance is the only thing that guarantees what you want to have happen will happen. I was a registered rep for 15 years. You can't even play a word game that says guarantee. And so again, we analyze that. We let you know. See, where first thing you got to do is you got to figure out your financial baseline. Where you got these goals, where you want to go, but you have to figure out where you're at and then build on that. The fourth principle is 6 months to 1 year of income storage. Okay, where does this come from? Principle one, savings. So people with healthy levels of savings and good savings habit, they don't put as much pressure on their investment as people without those bad habits. See, if you are don't have any money, then you're trying to make this, you got to go for rates of return and take risks. Well, risks, only way to get better rates of return in people's mind is to take more risks. But we think you should be focused on efficiency. So your level of savings has to do with the pressure you put on your plan and in your investments, because you think the key to growing your wealth is to find better investments that pay a higher rate of return. So you need to put money on your investments. And then what happens is, because you are behind the eight ball, now you get in all these stupid get rich quick schemes. And people tell me, well, I don't want to get rich quick scheme, but they always jump for get easy money, high rates of return, because greed kicks in and you got to make a quantum leap to catch up. And so because you have bad savings habit, inch by inch is a sense, right? And so do you have 6 months? And we track that, so with this example, 1 month, $16,000 represents 1 month of their emergency fund. So for 2 months, they have, 30, so you see down here where it says liquidity, they've got 39,000. So they've got the equivalent of 2 months. That means if you didn't work, you could maintain your household without working for 2 months. So if you can get to 3 months, a lot of disability policies have a 90-day or a 6-month elimination period. So as you can build up your ability to self-insure up to a point, then you can raise deductibles on certain insurances, and now your insurance premiums go down, and we can move that money to savings. See, all this stuff works together, right? And so that's how this goes. So everybody, you got to save. People say, well, oh, Curtis, I got $10,000. What can you help me do? I was like, well, if you gave me that, first of all, there's really nothing you can put money in if you only have $10,000, $20,000. And I said, well, what would you have left? Oh, I wouldn't have anything. Then you can't invest because you don't have enough money. You don't have any money. Most of the good investments are illiquid, and you need $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to get into them if you want to give it in something that can get you 8, 10, 12% or more. And otherwise, if you don't have that kind of money, you need to invest in yourself. You need to learn how to do something. You need to learn how to start a business. You need to create a side hustle, right? And so, which I'm moving into the next principle. So, is velocity. See, here's where everybody wants to jump in. They want to jump into velocity. This is the era. So everybody, but they want to skip the first 4. And so to me, you're building a house on sand. That's why I wanted to kind of show this, so that I could have people, get clarity on the process, on the order, right? And so you want to create movement. So velocity is gaining multiple uses of your money, and that creates benefits and reduces your exposure to loss. So Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad fame once said that he was less concerned about the amount of his money and more concerned with the velocity of his money. And that statement is a very profound truth, because see, the best way to understand velocity is this. Think about a grocery store. My parents were in the supermarket business, right? So I grew up in that business. And so the grocery store places, you get goods. We go to cash and carry or whatever. We get stuff to put in the store. We start with the little stores. We had a 2 little stores. We had a supermarket. And so, however, the objective isn't to stack the shelves. The objective is to sell everything on the shelves, take the money, and go buy more stuff to replace the stuff he sold, right? And the shelf. I know people that make a lot of money and not restock the shelf. So you go, but we're in a bar business, so people make money. And then if you went into a bar, my father was a stickler for this. Like, listen, if it's the same thing with the bar, and you turn over your stock, and if you saw a bar with empty spaces on the shelves, that was a bad sign. They're about to go out of business. Same thing if you go into a store and it's not well stocked. They're not reinvesting in more goods, right? They're taking the money out and doing, or they're not making any money. They don't have enough money to just turn the money back over and keep the stocks full. And so this process performed over and over. So grocery stores call this velocity turnover, right? And the owner of the store understands that he's not in the business of accumulating goods on the shelves. All right. He understands the real business is one of creating velocity, right? And so that is so the money multiplier. So see, I'm going to throw some economic terms in there, folks, because you got to grow your knowledge about money and learn how to play the right game, not the game the financial institutions want you to do. You need to learn how to do what they do. Stop doing what they tell you to do, right? And so you got to learn how to get into velocity versus accumulation. And so the principle is that all financial institutions, this is what they do to create wealth. And so they teach you to practice the other, which is accumulation, accumulating your money in their accounts, i.e., stack goods on the shelf and leave them stacked on the shelf. You got to move them, right? And so they teach us we should never touch the money and that we're in it for the long haul and buy a diversified fund of mutual funds and the market always goes up and dollar cost average and buy and hold, blah, 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 blah. And they teach you not to, you put it in buckets and boxes where you can't touch it for 30 years. And they've done a really good job of convincing you that's investing. I would say that's not even investing, that's speculating, right? And financial institutions can convince us to stack our money on the shelves and let it compound, then they will have gained the use and velocity of your money. And see, so what you want to do is, and what we do is we track that. See, what's important on this right here, right? It's liquidity, it's so see this person has no investment cash flow. So you got to see the focus of true wealth of an asset is cash flow. So you got you're financially independent when this number equals your earned income. Okay. You have no business. So you want to track, okay, your marketing tracks your business cash flow. Then you got to save it. Then you got to buy assets to create investment cash flow. You want to minimize. So right now, this $2,000 a month for personal debt is a wealth transfer going out, no business debt, and your net worth, assets minus liabilities, is 331. I'm not, that's a good number, but that's a byproduct. The number you need to focus on, that we focus people on, is liquidity, investment cash flow, business cash flow. Can you save? Can you eliminate non-preferred debt? Okay. And so this is so pick up this book called Who Took My Money? So this is, if you look at Tua Kiyosaki's book, Cash Flow Quadrant, we talked about the ES, employees, self-employed. And so typical financial advice teaches you to save, get out of debt. So I like the verb of savings, but you're not saving just to be saving. You're saving so you have money to buy assets, right? Get out of debt. All debt, which is not your goal. And buy a bigger house, which is, house is not an investment. It's not an asset. Asset's something that puts money in your pocket. Houses don't do that. Your residence doesn't do that. Buy a diversified portfolio of mutual fund. Focus on equities and, super annualization. That's more of a Canadian thing. So whereas business owners and investors, the rich, this is their model. They build businesses, they buy real estate, they do paper assets, use other people's money to accelerate. So that's velocity. They create the right entity, they use other people's time, they use the tax laws, charity, then they buy real estate, put that in the proper entity. The tax laws favor real estate, so you keep more of your money, and you use paper where they invest on the inside. Private placement memorandums, which you have to be a credit investor to get into, IPOs, hedge funds. If they're going to do a stock market, they invest with options, but all of those create movement and velocity. So here's the philosophy. So one of the things, when you save the 20%, you got to create a wealth, WCA as a wealth coordination or wealth capture account. So which is just a checking account. And if you make, just keep it basic. Let's say you make $3,000 a month or $20,000 a month, doesn't matter. Let's do 10% of 4,000 or 3,000 will be 300. 20% will be 600. So can you take 300 to pay and put away 20% and move it into your wealth coordination account. Now you've got the habit. So now we move some of that into your private reserve or properly structured dividend paying whole life as a better place to store your liquidity. And then now you can invest. Now you have money to create velocity. And then you take that money and you take the profits and you put it back in your wealth capture account and you keep save it and you buy more assets to generate cash flow. And then it's cash, asset, cash, right? And so what happens is when contrary to velocity of money are plans such as 401ks, and other retirement accounts, they create stagnation in your money by limiting freedom of movement, right? You only can do one thing: be in that account, be in a 529, be in CDs. And it makes your money vulnerable to financial predators such as management fees, losses in financial markets, and inflation. So these plans are designed to fulfill the financial institution's goals, which is they want you to get your money. They want to use it to create more money. They want to keep it for as long as they can. They want to give it to you back as slow as they can or never give it back at all. So that's what they want, okay? And so everything they do is designed to get you to do that so they can make more money. See, here's how your flow should be. Money is saved, then it's invested into assets that produce income. The income goes back into your wealth capture account. We encourage people to provide, investments that provide income, not, equities where you're just hoping the market goes up. I hope it's not a good strategy. And the income, so you want to put things in income that will send you a check every month. Okay. You need to be a receiver of interest, not a payer. And so that's the flow of money. So ask yourself, does your money flow that way? Would you like it to? And see, so what people don't need are investment ideas. You need principles. One of my favorite book is The Richest Man in Babylon, The 7 Cures for a Lean Purse, Chapter 2. Those are principles, the 7 principles of prosperity from Prosperity Economics. Okay. And so you use those principles as a screening mechanism to see if this is an opportunity worth pursuing, right? And so people need the ability to become experts. So when you talk about investing in, what you know an investment is used, right? You've got to become an expert. So there's no such thing as a bad investment. There's bad investors, because if it's a bad investment, a good investor will know that and they won't invest there, okay? Or they won't do it more than once. And so therefore, what you want is greater control and use for themselves and for those they care about versus giving control away, sticking your head in the sand and not taking responsibility for your life and for your money. And so the ones that the best investments that work, they require effort and they require specialized knowledge, right? And the idea of being taken care of by someone else and not needing to know, i.e., let me put my money in and hope it goes up. Ask people about Enron about that. That is a failed strategy. So here's what we do, okay? We've developed and refined a process to help you keep more of what you make without budgeting. You want to know where your money's going, but you want to forecast. You want to have a cash flow management system. So we have a program that we will help you do that. And also have a do-it-yourself program where you can get a little app and then we'll help you set that up and how to track it. You've got, you want to lower your current and future taxation. So in our process, we will help you look at that and look at how you can, lower your taxation, keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket. We get people organized. See, money doesn't come into chaos. So you need to figure out where you is. You get your papers in order. We have our personal financial organizer, binder that our clients that are in our program all get, and we use that to just kind of mentally get your space, your head organized and physically organized with your paperwork. And based on the model I just showed you that we've been showing you, that's what you would have. That will look like plus a little binder. And, and we can do this without telling you that you can't go to Starbucks, without telling you can't go on vacation, So we focus on looking at what you have and how to get that more efficient so you can create new money to save. And so we take simply put all of these papers on the left, and then we turn it into this simplistic model that you can follow. So ask yourself, is this the type of planning you'd like to pursue, right? If so, then, if somebody sent you this, get with them. But the thing is, go to practical, I meant to put it on here, but go to, www.practicalwealthadvisors.com and then click apply to work with us. And what we'll do is we'll set you up with a free strategy session to see if, nothing for sale, but basically see if, we are a good fit, and we'll help kind of enroll your personal economy based on that model. And, our goal is to help people. This is the end of the movie, guys, is to achieve the 4 pillars of a strong personal economy, which are freedom from debt to others. If you're going to be in debt, then be in debt to your banking system, not somebody else's. Is ready cash when you need it. That's principle 4. You need to have liquidity. Passive income you don't have to work for and that you can outlive. That's going to come from principle 5. And a legacy of wealth and wisdom to pass on your money. So that's principle 3, plus a system of family education and trust. And so if that's, if it's important to you to, it says in the Bible, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, right? And so we have to get to work, basically. All right. So thanks for listening. Again, I'm Curtis May from Practical Wealth Solutions. Give us a call. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.